What's going on YouTube? AJTBLS here, coming to you in May, recapping the GFC 22 event. 140 plus players in the event. I did do very well in this event, spoiler alert, but I mean it's been about a month since it came out. Just been backed up with a Nano series and want to cover this event for what it was. The plan for this video series is to go over every video or every match in the Top Cut. The matches outside of Top Cut being in Swiss, I can maybe cover a different time. There were some good duels and some good matches in that as well. I had a really good game with Cub. He has a really cool YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. And Moxie's, he outplayed me in Swiss and just kind of diced me up, to be honest with you. But luckily enough, we did get there at the end, so spoiler alert. But again, it's been about over a month, so yeah, the results have been public. So let's go ahead and talk about the list. It is Chaos Turbo. It is the best deck in GOAT format. However, this is something that I not ran at a major before, being the configuration of the cards in my Chaos Turbo list. As you might know, Chaos Turbo is very tight. There's not many cards that are flexible that you can move around. You probably got about 3 to 4 cards that you can flex. So let's just go over the monsters. 21 today, not running Kaiku in the mains. I've done that before with my 21 monsters. I've also ran Berserk Gorilla famously for Worlds. I decided to go with 3 Dekoichi. That was my 21st monster. Reason being is that Dekoichi is just an absolute unit of a card. I think that it is the second best flip in the game, first being Gravekeeper Spy. You know, people will say, oh, what about Faith? Faith requires a condition of having a good magic card in the graveyard already. It is definitely the most backbreaking when it resolves and takes back, you know, a Trinity piece. But consistently speaking, Spy, then Dekoichi are my preferences for flips. These spells, absolutely standard. I've got 10 of them. No main mind control, just standard stuff. A lot of people call this deck the Mythical 40. Team Solitaire and Ivan Rosito made that up. This is just a copy of Ivan Rosito's main list. To be straight with you, the main deck. We'll get into the side in a bit. So when we go to the traps, I've mained 2 Jar of Greed before. I've mained obviously Triple Shoot. I've been doing that for a long time. Mirror Force and Ring. Now, it's missing Torrential Tribute in the main deck. This is the first main event that I have participated in a very long time, possibly ever, that I did not main Torrential. Torrent is a very good card overall. I still have not found myself from cutting it in the side deck. It's good in large fields as well, but I wanted to really run 3 trains, and I just wanted to try out this new Mythical 40 Ivan list. Reason why I didn't want to run Torrential is I was expecting a lot of chaos, and with my 3 Dekoichis, best opening move in GOAT is T-setting. So what kind of opening move is it? Imagine if your hand is like, you know, Dekoichi Spy, a couple other flips, maybe a Chaos Monster, and you have Torrential, and you're going first. Are you really going to be setting a Dekoichi and then setting Torrential behind it? That sets yourself up for so many weird situations, so many bad spots, that I just felt like I didn't want to have that in the main deck, and I just wanted to play as, you know, open and fluid as possible, being the only kind of dead draws in the deck. Late game, obviously there's a whole bunch, but early game, there's no real dead draws early game. You know, it depends on the matchup. Obviously, you know, Nobleman could be dead, even MST could be dead, but Torrential can really be bad, especially going first with high flip count. So that basically explains the main deck. However, one other thing I want to go over is I haven't ran Raigeki Break in a very long time. Actually, since the first major I've ever won, where I've copied James' list main deck, and he was running Raigeki Break. It was the first Chaos Turbo win that I've ever had. I owe a lot to that list because that's kind of what Chaos Turbo is kind of what took my GOAT career to the next level. I was always just a warrior player. You know, I had experience playing Chaos Turbo, but then when I won my first major with it, I was like, okay, now I'm just going to focus solely on Chaos Turbo, and it's been the right decision. So I've always been a proponent and a fan of Wing Blast. This time I ran Raigeki Break. Reason being was I haven't won in a while with Wing Blast, and I felt like I was just getting outpaced and outmoved, so I needed to make a change, and I'm happy I did. So Raigeki Break, you know, I'm not going to go and make this video of what card is better, what's the pros and cons, you know, too much detail on that, but I will say this. Raigeki Break is very strong in a large field. While Chaos Turbo makes up, you know, 45 to 55% of the field on any given day, you're still going to be paired against very often not just Chaos Turbo, and while I definitely agree Wing Blast is better in the mirror match, slightly, there are even situations where I'd rather have Raigeki Break than Wing Blast in the mirror, answering cards like Breaker, Kaiku, Snatch Steel, a set Magician of Faith or flip that is known, and you do not have an answer to it being, you know, Mind Control, Nobleman, or even Knight Assailant. You could flip it up like Man-Eater Bug and kill the set. Raigeki Break has its uses. There's definitely some cons to it. There were, throughout the tournament, I think one time I got caught Raigeki breaking a set Sangan, and when that happened, I just knew I was going to lose. So there are definitely some situations where Raigeki Break is worse than Wing Blast. However, I feel like in large fields, Raigeki Break overall is better. This might change later. So this time I ran Raigeki Break. I still like Wing Blast overall more as a card. I think the artwork's cooler on it. It's a nicer looking card. I own them in person, obviously, both copies, and I think that the artwork on the ulti, especially in Wing Blast, is much nicer. So let's go ahead and talk about the side deck, because the side deck is where kind of the magic happened. This is not a standard side deck for Turbo. 3 Kaikus. Love this card. It's probably one of my favorite cards in GOAT. Put it in a mirror match, even put it in against, put 1 copy in against Warriors. Mystic Swordsman. Now, this is not a standard card at all. I put this in against Chaos Turbo and Burn. 1 Zambira, put this in against Warriors. 1 Mind Control only, put that in against Chaos Turbo for the mirror match and maybe some other, high flip count decks. 2 Mystic Walks, this is for Burn. 1 Call of the Haunted, I put this in going second against Chaos Turbo and against Warriors. 2 Sakuretsus for Warriors and even Control or Burn. 3 Solemns, this was solely here for Warriors. However, throughout this tournament, I was trying something new and it did work out. I'll get into that in detail shortly with the Solemns. And in 1 Torrential, I put this in against Warriors, aggro decks, even sometimes going second in the mirror match. So my idea for this event was going second in a mirror match, which will come up in later videos. I was going to take out all of my Dekoichis, reduce 1 Knight Assailant, take out my Tsukiyomi, take out my MST, take out both jars, and side out 1 shoot, and I was going to add in 3 Kaikus, Call of the Haunted, Mind Control, and 3 Solemns, and kind of treat it like an aggro deck. There were also some other cards that I flexed around and moved around, and just go completely aggro, solemning things, and just try to establish a board of, like, if I can get down a Kaiku that's Kaiku and a Swordsman on that board with protection, being, you know, a Solemn, a Ring, a Raigeki Break, Mirror Force, whatever, just protect that. Chaos Turbo has a very hard time getting out of, like, that sort of a board lock, because they're forced to summon, not a Chaos Monster, right, because we have Kaiku up. They're forced to summon a Dekoichi and try to run over my Mystic Swordsman. And even if they do accomplish that, I still have a Kaiku there. So that was kind of the configuration and plan that I was trying to run in the mirror match going second, because going second in the mirror match is such a disadvantage. And I'm sorry if I'm boring you talking Chaos Turbo theory, but it is very important to understand what was going on in this tournament and my thought process. So let's go ahead and talk about my first opponent that I played. Also important to note, deck lists were open and public going into Top Cut. It was a day 2 Top Cut. It was played on a Saturday. Sunday, it was open deck lists, and everybody had each other's lists, similar how they did in Jumps back in the day from what I hear. I never had the luxury of playing in a Jump as I'm a new school type player, but I was playing against Giya. He is quite an accomplished duelist. I'm going to try out this new difficulty star for GOATs, rather for the tournament configuration. So out of 5 stars, I would give Giya a 3.5 star difficulty for my list. And this is just going to be based upon, you know, how my deck list matches up with their deck list, and also them as a duelist. I think Giya is very strong as a duelist, but when you take a look at the list that they were playing, Chaos Turbo does fairly well against decks like this. You know, it's quite slow. The Solemns can be an issue if they can establish board presence, and obviously the Dust Shoots. But at the end of the day, it's Control versus Chaos Turbo, and it's probably it is one of the most favorable matchups that Chaos Turbo can get, just by deck design. So that's why I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars. Going over their deck, it's quite interesting. They have a main deck creature swap, main deck Solemns, 2 Metamorphosis, and 3 Faiths, 2 Zaborgs. It's very aggressive, and it's very important to not use too much of your life points as a resource. Like, you can take a DD Warrior Lady hit early, but you can't keep on doing that. You know, this is a deck that vomits damage, and Giya is known to be a very aggressive player, so very important to keep your life points high. So let's go ahead and go into the first replay of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. And looks like we lose rock, paper, scissors. And we'll show both for it. We'll just talk. So remember, their deck list is open, mine is open, so going through the match, you are able to process of eliminate cards you see in the graveyard or cards from Dust Shoot from what they're going to draw. So a lot of math came into this, and I'm quite good at process of elimination and also, you know, on-the-spot math and making the best play based upon what their top deck outs are and just playing the numbers game. So let's go ahead and break this down. So Giya has a decent hand. It's quite aggressive with the Suki and Nobleman Kaiku. Upstarts into DD Warrior Lady. And what does Giya decide to do? They decide to normal summon DD Warrior Lady and set Dust Shoot. This play doesn't lose to very many things. If I do top deck Snatch Steal, then they're forced to send back my Tsukiyomi, as I can just, you know, snatch and put it down and have a +1. I draw into Jar of Greed, not the best top deck, but whatever. And they choose to send back my Tribe. In real time here, there's not much I can do except set the Dekoichi and set Jar and set Shoot. I think that there's a high chance of that this Dekoichi won't resolve, but it is what it is. I'm not going to give up my Tsukiyomi. If you take a look at their deck list again, Tsukiyomi is a very powerful card as it kills a lot of the stuff in their deck, including the Thousand Eyes Restrict, including the Kaiku, including the Zaborg. So a lot of stuff, and setting the Dekoichi, setting Shoot, setting Jar, we're going to see their hand. We're going to be able to make a decision of what monsters really hurt us, and if they do have Nobleman, that's fine, because if they bring out Kaiku with it, we could just run it over with Suk, and we could just go from there. So let's go ahead and do the play I described, and let's Dust Shoot them. I think that after seeing this hand, we have a lot of good top decks that we can start, you know, establishing and winning the duel. The Nobleman's only going to get one of our flips. I think that the Send is actually going to be the BLS, because this is a light and they have darks, and we don't really have a clear answer to BLS at this time. While it does suck if they bring out Kaiku and we're going to take some damage, we do have Tsukiyomi to clear it up, and we're going to be drawing 2 cards in our turn because of Jar, so everything's to be changing here, and we do decide to send the BLS. The Metamorphosis is kind of a brick in this spot. I decided Nobleman. I think that we should be chaining our Jar here, because drawing another Dekoichi from this would be pretty powerful, and also we have the ability to do some trickery if we wanted to, like set Night Assailant instead. Draws Jar, which is definitely not what we were looking for, and they decided to bring out the Tsukiyomi and not bring out the Kaiku, which is definitely the right play, because our Suki would run it over, and I was kind of hoping that they were going to bring out the Kaiku and get a little bit more damage in, but they're too smart for that, and we take the 2600. So we draw a timely Pot of Greed.
Now I activate my Pot of Greed magic card, so I can draw 2 cards.
And Pot draws into BLS and Nobleman. In this spot here, I think that Nobleman, while it definitely gets value from the Faiths, this is a pretty good card to Nobleman, as lights are kind of hard to come by in the deck outside of Magician of Faith. So I think summoning Nobleman, setting Jar is the right play. Just getting 1100 in there, just establishing some sort of pressure, and getting that DD Warrior Lady off the board. Now, their only pressure is going to be Kaiku, and we have a Tsukiyomi to answer that. We set our Jar, draw Heavy Storm, and they just choose to pass. We should be activating this Jar. We do. Draws an Upstart Goblin, draws into another Sork. So now we have all of our Chaos monsters in our hand, and a Night Assailant Tsukiyomi. I think in this spot here, because of how many cards are known from that original Dust Shoot, we should be setting the Night Assailant. We do. And this is a decent play because we have a Tsukiyomi loop with it if this does resolve. They draw Spy, and we got what we wanted. So this is just a loop here that's going to have to be answered. And obviously we Tsukiyomi it down, attack for 11, and we draw Tribe. So we are Monster Clog, but Chaos Turbo is doing Chaos Turbo things, establishing a board with a flip effect that is recycling with Tsukiyomi. So life is good right now. And they dead draw Zaborg here, so the only play is to summon Kaiku, kill the Night Assailant, as this is just the loop that's either going to be costing you 1100 or destroying your monsters. So they do the right play, which does suck for them, but they have to do it. Draw Raigeki Break. This is an interesting spot here. We could bring out Tribe and attack for 16, setting Raigeki Break to protect it from the known Tsukiyomi, but you know, you're signing yourself up for a neg 1, and Tribe is a powerful card, so I think that setting Raigeki Break and passing is a good play, or just doing nothing. Let's see what we decide to do, and we just set Raigeki Break. Draw Sangan. Sangan is a very powerful card, especially with Zaborg, so we have to take the 1000, and we draw Snatch. Nothing really we can do here. We could go kill the Sangan, but we know they have Metamorphosis, and if we do that, they're going to take a Serpent, so not the best spot. And unfortunately, we just got to take damage here. And they set a back row. So the play now can be we throw away our BLS target the back row, banish out the Sangan, put it down with the Suki, and go from there, but we should probably just wait. We decided to do it now, so we're committed to the play that we're describing. It sucks to throw away your BLS, but you know what? If this was another dust shoot, we probably would have lost because of the cards they have in their hand. So now we're at least signing ourselves up to banish the Sangan, which is always good. And we draw Trap Dust Shoot. So we decide to do the play I described. I'm hoping that we do put it face down. Yep. Attack them for 11. And we should be setting the Dust Shoot and passing. And they do draw Sinister Serpent. This is easy. I think you sent back the Serp. And now they're in a really, really bad spot here. And they realize that, so they don't even decide to bring anything to the board. I think the play here is we just gamble, leave this thing face up, attack for 23, and then set face. And there are definitely some ways we can lose on their turn, but I mean, if this resolves, it's just going to be a blowout. So they upstart into pot. It's their turn. It's their turn to do unfair goat things, and that gets an immediate answer of premature burial and trap dust shoot. Thank God we kept our tribe and we kept our snatch. Obviously, there was no opportunity to snatch anything, but this is going to be a powerful push, as this is going to be tributed out and run over our Sork. And what do they decide to do here? They decide to set trap dust shoot and pass. So actually, I believe that this is game no matter what, and it is. So this should just be scoop phase, and I think that's what happens. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk siding. Let's pull back up our deck. Siding here, we're going second against control. There are no Thunder Dragons in Giya's deck, so I think Trap Dust Shoot going second has very little value. I would like us to side them all out, put in some Sakuretsus. I think Nobleman still has value. We're expecting them to put in Mind Control and Swordsman. We could put in Mind Control ourselves. Kaiku has no value, as they don't have Chaos Monsters except BLS. I think that Mind Control, Call of the Haunted, Sakuretsu, Torrential, even Solemn has some value. I think that we could be doing even our similar aggressive strategy that I described at the beginning of the video, siding out our Dekoichis, putting in Triple Solemn, Swordsman, Myra's even decent, Mind Control, Sakuretsu, and Call is good. Shoots can go for sure. Again, for my YouTube videos, I like to just watch the replay once and go over it live, like not rehearsed, because I feel like the responses and gameplay analysis will be more genuine. And if I watch it beforehand, I could be like, oh, misplay, but it'll be missing that authentic reaction, where I like to keep that as real as I can since the event. I'm sure I've watched it after the event, but I haven't watched this in about over a month. So we're going to be going second. Our hand's okay. Thankfully, we have a Serpent for this Delinquent, and we should be throwing away our Serpent. They decided to use the Delinquent before Trap Dust Shoot, which has been a common theme throughout opponents in this event, and this time it's really going to punish them. If they just set the shoot and set, DD Warrior Lady or something, they would have been able to see our hand, send back the Serpent, and get a full plus value on it. Instead, they decide not to. We pick up our Serpent, and now they're forced to send the Tsukiyomi because we have a Nobleman lock with it, whereas like this Serpent shouldn't even be in our hand. They should have waited a turn. And we decide just to cash it in and minimize the damage, bring them down to 66 and get that DD Warrior Lady banished. I think that's the right play. They draw into Solemn Judgment, and they set Ghosts and pass. We draw another Nobleman, which is quite dead, and here I think we should just be passing. That's what we decide to do. They draw Magician of Faith. We top deck Thunder Dragon here. I think we should be Noblemanning. They allow it to go through. And we know nothing about their hand, right? It's the TDs. Really wanted to, we could summon the Serpent, attack for 300 to start pressuring them. Let's see what we decide to do. We decide not to go that route. I think that's right. They draw into BLS. And this is going to be a slower paced game. They should be probably just passing in this spot. We draw Sork. Sork is active. I don't think it has any value bringing it out. And thank God we didn't, because we lost it to the tribe, and now we are going to get a +1. So cool. Good patience by us. And let's go ahead. Oh, and draw BLS. That's nice too. Very nice, because this will be another dark for us when this obviously gets answered. They have 5 cards in their possession, so it's not going to last very long. And let's see what we decide to do here. I hope we don't Storm. There's no reason to. We need to keep the Storm for Snatch Steal. And also they run Scapegoats, so could be a +1, and we decided to set the Serpent now. I think that is right, just so we can have additional pressure with the Thunder Dragon in the future, and it is set in pass. And I think we should just be attacking with the Sork. Yeah, no reason to play in anything else. And they bring out Scapegoats, just kill one. We draw Torrential, decide to bring it in. What we do here, I don't know if there's any value setting the Torrent. We do decide to, I guess, I mean, 1,000 Eyes would be kind of sucky because we don't have, and if they have a Nobleman, we don't really have a way to wall out. We'd have to draw something, so I guess you could set it, and they just draw another Scapegoat. They decide to use Storm and set Mirror Force, and they set everything. So we know now that they have a Solemn, and I believe they know we have Heavy, and they do know that we have Heavy. So if we Heavy, it will get Solemned. We decide to banish a token. They pay half, that's fine. We gave them this play. We're okay with it because we want to pressure them, and we did just draw Ring. So Ring is going to be our new meal ticket. And this is the correct sequence. Tribute setting after, ensuring we get our Serpent back next turn. Their Delinquent's already gone. And yeah, also getting a better monster on board. So they draw Ring, not the best card for the situation. We should be picking up our Serpent. If they have Dust Shoot, who cares? They decide to ring out our Sork. This is the right play. If this gets Mirror Force, who cares? Try to attack for game. They use Scapegoats. And remember, we have Ring set too. So, and we did draw Solemns. We did do our play of bringing in the aggressive strategy. And this game is just over. We should be setting the Solemn, passing, and now we have a 100% game as they have one back row and we have a Ring. We will ring our Thunder Dragon, and if they have Book or they have any way to answer it, we Solemn it. We had bring us down to 25-50, and we'll just Solemn it so we can afford to do that. We could just ring our own. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, we win. Game 1, we outdrew them. We got our pot before them. We did go second, and in Game 2, I think that we were actually outdrawn, but our patience holding the Sork was the winner as we got a +1 on the Tribe. She didn't really make any mistakes this isn't really a mistake, this is a controversial thing. I do think still that going against Chaos Turbo, you should be using the Dust Shoot before the duo because there's Night Assailants and Serpents laying around. I don't think she played necessarily bad, kind of her deck. I don't want to say failing her, but just her deck kind of matched against ours was not the best. You know, these Scapegoats were so dead, right? It's just kind of the problem with playing Control. I think that Control has a lot of potential, but it needs a revamp, and hopefully someone out there has the willingness to do it. So, good games, Giya, and we will come to you guys in episode 2 where we are not going to go over the deck again, mind you, our deck. We're just going to go over our opponents, and we'll go straight into the duel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.